You're listening to Ideal Practice, episode number 114. Today we're talking about not only how to play with and explore the concept, the idea, the experience of meditation, but really how to incorporate sacred practice into your everyday life as a practice owner. Some of you may not think you really need this, my friends, but I think you do. So, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Pitts-Reeves, and with over 2 decades of experience in the private practice world, I've built my 6-figure business while learning a lot of lessons the hard way. This is the first podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of energy, alignment, and strategy to build a practice that is profit-centered, but people-forward. This is the Ideal Practice Podcast. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Ideal Practice. So nice to have you hanging out with me here on the podcast today. How are you doing? How is your life going? How is your summer going? If you're here with me in the Northern Hemisphere, at least. I hope you're making the most of the longer days. I have to tell you, one of my favorite things to do at this time of year is to sit outside in the grass as it gets dark, way past sunset. It is the coolest thing in the world to watch the sky turn from light blue to dark blue to deeper black, and to watch the stars begin to peek out a little bit at a time. I live out in the country where I can do that. I can actually see those stars. Some of you may not have that option, but if so, my wish for you is that there is a park somewhere nearby that you can get out of the city and be able to have that kind of experience, because there's nothing like it, especially in the summer. The evenings just have their own energy. And it's occurring to me that that's kind of where we started in this interview today, was talking about how important it is to connect with the natural world in some way. So my guest today is Tania Ho. I think you're going to really love her. She has a deep kind of energy, a deep kind of presence that I found fun and engaging and really interesting to be with. Tania serves as a meditation teacher and an intuitive soul guide. She helps people find clarity by developing their inner wisdom, their inner intuition. Originally from Hong Kong, she now lives in northern Thailand with her family, where she and they are the founder and owner of Museflower Retreat and Spa. She's been running that for several years now. And it sounds like a delightful place that I find myself thinking, gosh, what would it take to get to Thailand? Because it really, really sounds beautiful. Tania teaches beginners to meditate in a fun, easy, practical way. She has studied a number of holistic therapies, including devotional chanting, labyrinth walks, shamanic journeying, flower essences, and energy healings. She really has dove into all these different ways to help restore our energy and bring us back to center. Through her work, she supports and holds space for people to listen to their own inner wisdom. And in this conversation today, we talked at length about all kinds of ways to do that, even when your life is insane because you are running a full private practice. And we want to find a way to give you some kind of peace back. I really want you to listen to what she has to say, because there are lots and lots and lots of ways that what we talked about today can help you reconnect with you in a way that is more sustainable, enjoyable, and that will carry you for the long haul. So, enough of that. Let's get in to the interview. All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to another episode of Ideal Practice. I'm so glad you guys are hanging out with me today. You have already heard the introduction about our guest today. There are so many cool things that we're going to talk about today, and this is completely different, y'all. We have not done this before on Ideal Practice. And I am very, very, very excited about this because the topic is near and dear to my heart and something that I think we all need desperately. So let me go ahead and bring on our guest. Tanya, say hello to everybody.
Hi, Wendy. Thank you so much for having me. You're so grateful for this opportunity to talk to you today.
Hang out with us. Hang out with us. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And you're doing this after putting your little one to bed late at night where
Yes,
you are. So
yes, yes.
I have so much respect for that. Talk about being a hardworking mama. Jeez.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So let's start by introducing everybody. Tell everybody a little bit about like where you are, who do you help,
Mhm.
how do you help them? Let's start with that.
Yeah, so I'm Tanya. I'm actually originally from Hong Kong, but now I live in Thailand. So I have this retreat center called Museflower Retreat and Spa. It's based in the northern Thailand. And we are like a small vegetarian retreat center. We offer yoga retreats, spa holidays, and also sometimes solo retreats as well. And
Mm,
so we're really creating the space because I'm from the city. I grew up in the city, and it was very important for me to have a space to be able to reconnect back to nature. And through that
mm.
reconnection, I really feel that we can reconnect with ourselves. And that's the reason or the intention behind creating the space. And yeah, we've been here for 10 years already.
Wow.
And
Have
have
you
a
been
lot
doing
of guests
retreats for
coming.
10 years? Have you been doing your retreat center
Yeah,
for? Oh, okay. Good for you.
yeah, for 10 years. Yeah. So we offer like yoga retreats or spa holidays that are available all year round. And so guests could just come here, take a break to recharge, relax.
Mm.
And hopefully sometimes for some people, they have this transformation that they go through during this retreat and then go back home and yeah, do
Yeah.
something different in their lives.
So I have traveled a fair amount, but I have never been
Mm.
to Thailand. So
Mm.
right. So tell me because, yeah.
Maybe next time on your bucket list. Yeah.
Let's talk. So tell me, like, I really would love to know, especially since this is audio and people can't see. We don't have
Mm.
a photograph of where you're at and what this like.
Hmm.
Tell people,
Hmm.
what does it look like around where you are? What's the land like? What's the geography like around you?
Yeah. Well, most people, when they think of Thailand, they think of like beaches and like the ocean, which is true. That is more in the south of Thailand. Where we are, we're in the north of Thailand, so which is actually more mountain and lakes and river.
Mm,
And I don't know, people might have heard about the Golden Triangle. So because we're the most northern part of Thailand, so we're actually linked to Laos and Myanmar, like country wise, like
oh,
just by
okay.
the border. So it's called the Golden Triangle. So lots of beautiful mountains, lots of nature like trees, lakes, river, that type of landscape is where we
Mm,
are. Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm struck by what you said in the beginning about that you grew up in Hong Kong in the city and you sought out
Mm.
nature as a way to reconnect. Like,
Mm.
I'd love to, like, I get that. And I would love to hear a little bit more about that. Like, tell me, like, what was that like? Why was that important? Tell me a little bit more about that. I'm curious.
Mm. So actually, when I was growing up in the city, I really enjoyed city life. But for some reason, when I went to school, went to like this really, out of nowhere, like there's in the middle of nowhere kind of countryside school. I didn't really think much about nature. I feel like until really my dad passed away. So my dad
Mm,
had depression. And I feel like, and then that was like more than 10 years ago, and emotional health and mental health were not really talked about as so much as nowadays.
yep.
And so, after his passing, I went to my first retreat here in Chiang Rai, actually, where Northern Thailand is. And just being by nature. And I felt like even you don't
Mm,
really have to do a lot of things. There's just such a lot of healing just being by nature itself.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just something so simple. And I always thought about, when we're stripped away all our entertainment, when you don't have, well, 10 years ago in the room, don't really have your phone, but we don't have phone, you don't have internet, don't have TV. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
When you're in nature, what are you going to
Ah,
do? And yeah. And someone's like, oh my God. But I know I shared that when I wrote about, our philosophy, Muse Flowers, talk about simple is bliss and bliss is simple. And it's because,
simple.
like, when
Whoa,
I grew up
let me,
city.
I want to
Yeah.
highlight that. I want to highlight that. Simple is bliss and bliss is
And bliss is
simple.
simple.
Oh,
Yes.
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason why is I think one thing that really struck me was, Grove City, I love being in aircon room. I always grew up in an aircon room. And I think my first retreat, there was no aircon. But it was
Oh, air
raining and it was
conditioning. You
also,
mean air
yeah,
conditioning,
air
right? Okay.
conditioning. Yeah, sorry, aircon, air conditioning. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm Garden City, so used to that in Hong Kong. I think in Asia is very, popular. It's just very it's accessible, air conditioning everywhere.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I was my first retreat was staying in a room. There was no AC. But it was still cool at night, and it was raining. And I was like, wow, it's actually really
Mm,
nice to be able to sleep in the room. That is
mm,
actually, you can feel the air of nature. You can hear the sound of
yes.
rain and the sound of thunder, and it's not scary. But it was just like, it
Yes.
was actually at that moment I felt like, yeah, it's actually really nice. It's okay. You can live without all these modern day things,
Hmm.
um, and still
Hmm.
be comfortable. Yeah.
I love that. So, I don't live near the city. I live in a small town near mountains, about 20 minutes away from a pretty good sized city, but
Mm,
nothing like Hong Kong at all, not even close.
mm,
And I have had a lot of experience in my career doing experiential work where you get people, adults or back in the day, teenagers, out into the woods, out into wilderness in some way. Used to do off
mm,
trail backpacking with kids.
mm,
I used to take women on adventures. I did a whole beginner backpacking thing for women at one point. And there is nothing like getting people out into the woods who have never done that before, who are used to being surrounded. When you're talking about air conditioning, it's what's the important, and this is relevant. This is going to all tie into where we're going. So we're good here. This is what that's all about to me is that you are sealed off from the world, right? You're sealed
mm,
off in a way. Like your
mm.
sounds are muted. You don't hear outside and you don't smell it. You don't breathe it. It's completely, and
Right.
I live in the southern US where it gets really, really hot and we could not function without air conditioning. So I love all that. But what you just described about, oh my gosh, it's raining and the windows are open and I can feel that nice, cool evening air and smell the rain, which
Mm,
people who have not had, like, it's entirely possible that folks have never had that experience. And
mm.
did you find that it sort of wakes up your senses in a way that is sort of surprising? Like, I didn't even know that this was a thing,
Yeah.
in a way?
Yeah. Yeah. In a way, I described it. I remember when I wrote that the philosophy was the experience really gave me the rain, and it's also at night looking at the stars because in a
Yes.
city there's so much light pollution. You can't really see stars at night, not even the moon. And then, here when it's completely dark, you can see the stars so clearly. It's so
Mhm.
beautiful. And that's what HD, high definition to me is. Like when you
Yes.
say like high definition TV, I'm like, that's even more real than high definition TV. That's even more profound, to be able to sleep under, not sleep, but even you just lie down and look at the night
Hmm.
sky, look at the stars. It was just, and then you
Mm.
feel like, wow, it's so much closer. It's almost like a blanket of stars. That
Yes.
was an experience I
Yes.
had before. I was lying outdoors just looking at the stars at night, and it was profound. You could feel that connection with the universe.
Yes. Yes. I used to work with a juvenile justice program where we would,
Mm,
as a volunteer, this was as a volunteer,
mm,
where we would take kids. I'll try not to go down too much of a rabbit hole here, but this is relevant. We would take these kids who had gotten into trouble with court for the first time. And so they were still afraid of it, which was a good thing. And they had to go through this program, like a 10-week program, in order to resolve whatever the issue was with the court. And most of that program was about coping skills and social skills and family issues and stuff like that.
mm,
But the very end of the program was this part where we would take them out for a 4-day off trail wilderness experience. And those were the kids who had never spent a night outside in their life and had never been away
mm,
from electronics in their life. And one of the things that we would require for them was we would build a really big bonfire that we kept going all night. And we slept
mm,
under a lean-to. We basically would string up tarps. We didn't use tents. We would just string up a tarp and sleep sort of in a circle, basically around the fire. And those kids had to take turns for 1 hour sometime during the night to get up and watch the fire.
mm,
And we had a schedule, like you had to wake up the next one and he was on duty and then she was on duty or whatever. And that was there were many things about that program that I love, but that was one of my favorites because those kids had to sit for an entire, they couldn't sit, they had to stand up because if they sat down, they would fall asleep. So
Right.
they had to stay on their feet. That was a requirement. They had to keep the fire going. And they could see, we were out in the middle of nowhere. Right around the fire would be bright, but you could see the stars. You could hear coyotes. You could smell the flowers that were blooming, right? And they had
Mm,
one whole hour where they couldn't talk to, there was nobody to talk to. We were all asleep. They had nothing but themselves, their thoughts, the night sky, the night sounds.
mm,
I thought it was the most profound experience for those kids. So,
mm,
and
mm,
that's exactly what you're describing. So, I do love that, and I do think that when we are running a practice, running a business, raising a family, coping with life, it is very easy to lose that because we're so
mm.
caught up in just getting through the day, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally. Yes.
How's that for a segue?
But it is so true. It is so true. And I feel like sometimes people, they listen and say, yeah, well, that's nice because, you had that time or you were doing that. But like, look at my life. I have all these
Mhm.
things going on.
Yeah. I have
But I
all these
feel,
things.
I think, yeah, I know you have a lot of going on in your life. We all have a lot of going on in life, but it is possible to take those elements that you mentioned, maybe not wake up in the middle of the night, but,
Right.
to bring some of those elements into our daily life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk to me about like what does it mean? What does it mean to integrate sacred practice into your
Mm,
daily life as a business owner, as a practice
yes.
owner?
Yeah. So,
Mm.
I feel like it's very important to start by clarifying, what is a sacred practice for each person. It could be totally different for another person, and that's totally fine. So it doesn't have to be look exactly the same or what we think it should look like. It's like those pictures when we see people meditating, they look so calm, and we're
Yeah.
like, oh my God, like I can't do that. And they're sitting on a mountain or by the river,
Yeah.
where we're just like, doing so many other things. So for every person it looks different, and even when we're in different stages of life it will be different, and that's totally fine because we're always growing and changing. And so first, maybe before life before kids, life after when you have kids, especially with young kids, is so different.
Mm.
So it is okay for the practices to change. So I guess first of all, coming back to sacred practice, it's just really have this time for yourself to connect to what is sacred to you. So
Yeah.
maybe, and maybe it is just 5 minutes a day. Even you have that time for yourself. Maybe it's just through journaling. I write it down. It's not even meditation. Maybe it's just okay. Maybe a quick 5 minute meditation, or maybe it's a quick 5 minute yoga practice, and that's all the time I have. That's still better than nothing. Like, I mean, that's still, that you have this kind of this touch point that, okay, I remember what is sacred in my life. And I remember, okay, there is something bigger than me. There's a bigger, there's a connection with something that is beyond what my mind can imagine or my mind can understand.
Mm-hmm. I love connecting to what is sacred to you.
Mm,
I love that. So the concept of integrating sacred practice. So we're not talking about religious practice. We're
mm.
not necessarily. It can be. Doesn't have
It
to
can be,
be.
yes.
Yeah, it
Yes.
can be. We're not talking about following somebody else's rules or some strict self discipline. We're talking about what feeds your soul,
Mm. Yes.
right? What feeds your
Yes.
soul and what helps you connect to something bigger than you, however you define that.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. I like what you said about that. This can be different for different people. It can be different for where you are in your life. That's true. I'm
Yes.
thinking when my kids were little, my kids are long grown and gone. I have grandkids now, but when my kids were little, I got up at one point. I think I told you this when we met before.
Yes.
There was a period of
Yes.
time when I got up at 4:30 in the morning because that was the only time my house was quiet. The only time. um, I put the kids in bed and then I would crash because I had to get up early. Otherwise, I was going to lose my mind if I didn't have that
Mm.
time. I needed that
Yeah.
quiet time.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. It's exactly like you said. You have to have that quiet time, or else you'll lose your mind. I feel like for me also, it's like having that time for myself, like the sacred solo time, I like to call. In one way, of course, there's so many benefits, but one of the main benefit is to have the time for myself so I can be sane for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't lose my mind for the rest
Yes.
of the day, or maybe I do, but then I'll still come back and not
Yeah.
completely lost it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You won't yell at your kids as much. And I and I will say you'll be a better clinician. You'll be a better healer
Yes.
if you engage in this in some way. So meditation is one thing, one way to do this,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And
Definitely.
I
Yes.
want to talk about that, like what meditation
Mm,
is, what it isn't. Let's just explore that, and then let's also talk about what are other ways to do this. So
yeah.
what do people get wrong about meditation? What is it, first of all, and what do people get wrong about it?
Yeah, well, meditation it's a practice or like a skill that helps you to cultivate awareness of yourself. So to me, it's learning to kind of observe what's going on really inside, what's,
Mhm.
besides the thoughts, maybe what kind of feelings are going on inside. We see a lot of times people look at pictures, and I do too, when you look at meditation and they sit like cross-legged on the floor and they hold a mudra, they look so calm. And all they do is just counting the breath and they empty their minds, they empty, no thoughts. I mean, maybe at one point you will get there, but a lot of people, especially myself, at the beginning also, I thought that's what meditation is. And so I tried it and I feel like I failed. So I thought I'm not good at it. So
I
I'm just
can't
not
do
going to do
this.
it. I'm just
I'm
going
not
to,
cut
yeah, I'm
out.
just going to give up. Yeah, it's just too
Yeah.
difficult. It's so hard to focus on counting my breath and it's so boring too, like to do
Yes.
that.
That's what
So
my
why
son would
don't we do
say.
that? But actually, there are so many different styles of meditation, so many different types of meditation. And I would really just say kind of like food. There's so many different kind of cuisines out there, first of all.
Mm.
And so it's important to try out, be open and try out different styles. And I find it also is related to our learning style. So some people are more, they're more a visual person or more auditory person.
Ah.
So it's kind of linked with your learning style too, actually. So there
Ah.
is kind of one style out there for you in terms of meditation. So I'll say maybe you try one style, you didn't like it. Please do not give up on meditation. Go out and try something else. And
Oh, this is
maybe
great.
even something that you like is not something you love, but start with that first. Start with that first
Hmm.
and then build on it, or maybe, and then you might discover something else again. So I don't mean you
Mm.
have to jump from different styles, but I mean, be open, be curious to be open to different styles of meditation. There's not just one style. Counting breath is one style, it's one technique, but not the only one.
Mhm.
So that's the number one thing that I love to share with people all the time. It's just meditation can be fun. It doesn't have to be boring. It can be interesting. And because it's only fun that you can keep doing it. Or else if it's
Yeah.
boring, it can only last for a few days and you'd be like, okay, I'm going
Yeah.
to do something else.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yeah. Screw this. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can be able to feel the difference is that, you have to enjoy, have fun with it too. And the second thing is just like it's a practice. So it's a skill. It's like any exercise. It's like cooking. If the first time you do meditation, you feel like I don't get it, that's totally fine because it's just like if it's the first time for you to make a cookie. If you never bake a cookie before, it may not be taste really
Right.
good. It can
Right.
be, but may not be. So you build on it. It's a skill that you build on it. So it's exercise is like the first time you do yoga, you kind of expect yourself to be able to do a headstand, right? So why would you
No.
be able to expect yourself, oh, I have to be able to have
Yeah.
no thoughts, which
Yeah.
meditation is not about having no thoughts anyway. It's
Yeah.
about being able to observe your thoughts.
Mm.
So kind of having that patience, like losing that expectation and just showing up to your practice and just be open and just trying out. I feel like that's another important message I like to share about meditation, really.
It's just showing up, the practice
Yeah, so
itself.
losing
Yeah.
your expectation. Yeah. And even yesterday I had a meditation practice. Oh, I felt so connected. And even today when I show up, I have to stop comparing my experience from yesterday to today. Maybe just like working out, some days you feel really good. Some days you work out and you feel like, oh, I feel like not really so good,
Yeah.
because really depending on your emotional state of that day, your physical energy, your state of mind, there's so many factors that go with it. So,
Yes,
but
this
it's
is true.
important you still show up
Yep.
to
There are
exercise
days.
that muscle.
Yeah, there are days I do yoga, and I told you when we talked before that
Yes.
my kind of go to is a daily practice of yoga, and there are days where I'm like I'm feeling so good, I'm looking forward to it, I'm just kind of like in the zone, and then there are days like it's the last thing I feel like doing, and I just like sort of drag myself there, depending upon how tired I am or what's going through my head that
Mm.
day. So you're right,
Mm.
you're not going to feel the same from one day to the other. Do it anyway. That's what the practice is. Show up, just show up
Yes.
anyway. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
You're saying so many really good little things. I'm sitting here taking notes because I can't not take notes. I love what you said about this whole thing. So for those of you who have never tried anything remotely connected to meditation, this is completely new to you. Kudos to you, first of all, for even tuning in. Please to stay with us. Stay with us because this will be good for you. Um, Tanya is right. When oftentimes when people talk about meditation, the goal, the stated goal is often said that it is to achieve a point of no thought, of no thought,
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
which is not asleep. It's sitting in a with space, with
Mm-hmm.
just being fully present. And I will say, as I mean, I've ebbed and flowed in my own practice over the years. I might have actually had that happen maybe for 3 seconds once or twice in my life. Like
Mm-hmm.
it is
Mm-hmm.
really hard to do. And so I really love what you said that it's not about that. It's not about not having thoughts. It's about observing your thoughts. And you said it's about cultivating awareness of what's going on inside. What's
Mm-hmm.
going on inside. I'm going to come to, I want to go deeper in something else you said. But let me start
Mm-hmm.
with this. I feel like as a practice owner, when you step out of not just being the healer, but into being the CEO, the visionary, the bookkeeper, the janitor, the marketer, you wear all these hats. So much of that is in your head. So much of that is head energy, right? And it is so much
Mm.
about thinking, doing, moving, planning, strategizing, implementing, blah, 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 blah. The kind of people who are drawn to healing work are people who are by nature more heart based, heart centered,
Yes.
emotion based, right?
Mm.
And
Yes.
when we run a business, it's very easy to get up into our heads and sort of forget what that which feeds us anyway, which brought us to this work to begin with. And
Mm-hmm.
I think as a healer, when you are more aware of your insides, of what's going on internally, you are so much more present with your clients. If I am tired or I'm stressed, it's easy to make a therapeutic error when I'm not in a good space, right?
Right.
We, we
Mm-hmm.
have to learn how to be tuned into ourselves. Um,
Mm-hmm.
anyway, just in every, like if you're working in an agency or a hospital, you have to do that. But when you run your own business and you're in charge of everything, this becomes even more important because this is what you will lose if you're not careful. You'll lose that
Mm-hmm.
connection to yourself and to something bigger than you, into the why, into the thing that brought you to this to begin with. You'll lose that. So I feel like I'm preaching a little bit here, I know, but I feel like
That's okay.
what you're bringing to the table is that, first of all, don't be afraid of this. Don't feel like you have to do it a certain way. There's lots of ways to do this. Don't be afraid
Yes.
to explore. Don't be afraid to experiment and try. Just stick with something long enough to give yourself a chance to try to learn it a little bit. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm hesitating because I have this funny image in my head. I want to go back to the visual, auditory, kinetic, the three different ways of
Yeah.
learning. I want to go back to that because I
Yeah.
thought that was brilliant. But I want to say one funny thing that when you just said you see this image of people sitting on a beach, cross-legged and have people, sometimes we can't even, can you sit on the floor? I don't know if I can sit on the floor, right? But you see this
Yeah.
image. I'm blissed out. I'm zenned out. It's all good. This past weekend, I went, it was a big holiday weekend in the US. A lot of people go to the lake, it's the sort of the
Mm.
beginning of summer.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a lake over the weekend and I went paddling. Went out 3 times over a couple of days paddling, canoeing, kayaking. And I posted a picture on Facebook that I took at sunset of the front of my boat where I was under some trees that were kind of sort of overlapping the water. And it was beautiful. The sun was on the water. It was late in the evening. It was just, it looked like a perfect, peaceful moment. What I couldn't figure out how to post in that moment was the video I took right after that, which showed that that boat was bouncing all over the place because there were all kinds of waves because there were boats all around me. And I was trying very hard to take that still picture while not crashing into the wall I was next to.
Right.
Oh, it was so funny. It was like I thought this is the metaphor for life and for business ownership right here. Yeah, it looks good on the outside, but inside we are bouncing all over the place and trying not to crash. Talk to me about you. You said your learning styles, and I like visual. Some people learn by what they see, auditory. Some by they hear, and kinetic. Some people learn by physically experiencing, like touching. Right?
Yes.
I'd love to hear some examples of what would be a meditative practice that would speak to each of those three styles.
Right.
This is brand new to me. This is a cool concept. I want to hear this.
Yeah. So I see them more when I talk about learning style. I also see or more the dominant sense that we're born into. So there's research done, and I actually learned it because it was actually more about child development and was learning it for like as a parent. But I found that it was so interesting because we're all born into the world with a dominant sense. So for some people, maybe visual is their dominant sense, or like touch and tactile is more dominant sense. But as we grow older as an adult, all our senses develop. And so for meditation, for example, I think the most common type of meditation is a guided like visualization type of meditation. So where you're asked to, use your imagination, imagine you're at this lake, imagine you're at a boat, where imagines calm. So that's using a lot of visualization. So for people who it's very easy for them to imagine or see images in their head. Like, for example, when I started meditation, that is the type of meditation that I was drawn to. So not the counting breath one, because that was also really difficult. I was like, I just can't focus. And so when I learned, there's
where you listen to a recording, like you listen to someone speaking and describing a scene. Yeah,
exactly. It was so much easier for me to follow because I could imagine it's almost like a movie playing in my head.
Yeah.
And so I find that for visual learners, that's probably something that is maybe they find it maybe more interesting, something easier for them to follow because that's how they learn.
Yeah.
For auditory learner or people who are more dominant in their, like with sound sense, for example, using music, maybe they want to play music, or the opposite, I know you do, no music because music's so distracting.
Yeah.
So you don't have this like complete silence works for you, I know, and because you shared that before.
Yeah.
For me, myself, I use mantra, so chanting mantra. So you're actually making the sound. So that's another way of engaging that sound. And for the tactile people, don't worry. There's still so many different kind of meditations. I think I shared with you with labyrinth walks. So you can find a labyrinth walk. Maybe you don't even think about it as meditation, and you don't have to think about it as meditation. You just think of going and walking and just fully engaging all your senses and just being completely present and aware. And when you walk a labyrinth, there are kind of a little bit guidelines, like you just follow your own pace, following your own rhythm. So also letting go the expectation of how you should walk a labyrinth. And there's a physical labyrinth you can walk with your whole body. There's also finger labyrinth. So it's just a labyrinth pattern printed on paper that you can walk with your finger, trace with your finger.
You told me that the other day. I'd never heard of that before. That was new to me
because
as well.
It works well with, it's not depending on outdoor weather, so you have to find a labyrinth somewhere. I really love finger labyrinths. They're also equally powerful. And often just like walking in nature. For some people, like walking in nature, that could be very meditative as well. There's also movement type meditation, like you mentioned, yoga. In a way, you can actually turn your yoga practice into quite a meditative practice. Focus on your breathing and your movement. And in a way, you start to kind of get into the flow. Like you're not thinking about what you're going to do later, your to-do list, or what happened yesterday, but you're just starting to, I'm just focusing on my body, really feeling it, just focusing on your breathing and going to flow as well.
Yes. Yeah, y'all, when Tanya and I met a few weeks ago to talk about this, what we were going to do today,
Mm.
by golly, she nailed me right off the bat. She was like, "So, do you have a meditative practice, and what is it?" You know? And I was telling her that I go in and out of this. I have had periods where I have practiced like daily for long periods, and then I lose it for a while. And um, and currently I'm in the losing it part. I have not been doing it so much lately. I have been doing, I am really good at the yoga stuff because that has sort
Mm.
of
Yeah.
become a habit. But
Yes.
I told her that I've tried there are lots of apps you can use like
Yes.
Headspace.
Headspace.
Calm
Yeah.
is another one.
Calm. Yeah. Insight
Um,
timer is another one.
Insight Timer
Very
is the
good.
one
Yeah.
that, yeah. And what I have learned, like you can listen to a recording of someone who walks you through a guided visualization. You can do a lot. You can listen to music, like meditative music. I told her that I have tried all of those things. I ultimately have come back to just silence. So I use Insight Timer because it has a little gong or a bell that you can set it to ring a bell.
Mm-hmm.
So I will set a
Mm-hmm.
bell to chime three times that comes it starts, and then to ring three times at the end to stop, and I'll set a timer. And that works for me because I am super tuned into sound. I'm very that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I end up paying attention to the music too much and forgetting it doesn't fade away for me. But what you're saying is that there's lots of ways to do this that involve all of your senses. The key is finding something where you lose yourself in it in a way,
Mm-hmm.
is the way I'm
Mm.
saying. Yeah. Where you're not
Yes.
thinking about tomorrow, yesterday, your grocery list, what you're going to do tonight. You're just in that moment, in that experience.
Yes. You're just in that experience. And maybe also one step back also is just also observing the experience. So you're in the
Mm.
experience and there's a part of you because your mind that the chatter has kind of quieted down a little bit that you're being to observe yourself. You kind of observe yourself in the experience as well.
Mm-hmm. When I've led retreats myself or groups of any kind, I used to do one of the things I've done fairly often is mandalas, where
Mm,
I would basically create a circle on a big piece of paper or like 11 by 14 kind of size paper and I would have this is one of my favorite things I used to do is I would put a bunch of chalks out in the middle of the circle, which are very
mm,
messy chalk pastels, which are super messy. And I would tell people just to fill up the mandala with whatever they wanted to, just fill up the circle. And might have music playing, might read something inspirational, might not, just depended upon the situation, and just let people go. And the what people did with those circles was always fascinating to me. Um,
mm.
and they would just be completely and totally present, just filling up the circle with color in whatever way they wanted to. Uh, that was a meditative practice. To me, adult
Yes.
coloring can be a meditative practice where,
Yes, very
right?
much.
Where your
Yeah,
hands are busy
you're
and your
right.
mind is free. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So tell me, let's talk about how to use this, like literally how you could use this to cope every day. So
Mm,
you're running a group practice and you've got 10 therapists or providers who work in your practice and everybody's coming to you with questions all day and you have your own caseload. You're seeing anywhere from 5 to 8 people a day yourself. Um, you're managing all the things. What are some examples of how somebody could use any kind of like any touch point, sort of like little ideas you have
yes.
for how to get
Mm,
through the day? You've got a difficult client coming up. You've got a meeting with a provider that you're going to a staff member that you've got to have a tough conversation with. You've just got a long day and you're really tired. You've got something going on at home and you need to leave it at home so you can be present today. Like, what are
mm,
some things people can do to get through the day?
to get for the day, yeah. Well, to start today, I feel like it is very important how you start the day. But now, when I say start today, I also want to say it is
Yeah.
unique for each person, like your schedule. You can't wake up 4:30 in the morning, that's how you start your day, because that's just where, like you said, before everybody wakes up. But that doesn't work for me because
Right.
whenever I wake up, my kids always wake up the same time. We're like around the same time. So what works for me is actually how I start my day. Okay, I get them. They had their breakfast. like, brush your teeth, breakfast. Maybe they go to school, maybe it's weekend or not. And then after only the kids are fed, because nobody wants hungry kids hanging around the house. Only when they're fed and they're happily, they have that connected moment with you as well, as a mom for myself. And then they're happy to go off to do something, and then you have your own time. And that's like the time that I have for myself. So for me, then sometimes I would try to do it in the early morning, but it really usually at the moment doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
So it works for some people, doesn't work for some people. But I'll say wherever that starting point for you is, that start of the day, like before, like there's always this transition before you go to work, kind of like switch into work mode. Just having that. Of course, meditation is great. Maybe it's yoga. Maybe it's just journaling, having the time to do some journaling, to write down your thoughts for yourself. Maybe it is coloring and doing mandala. So it can be even just 5 minutes, 1 minute. Maybe it's just having your morning coffee, but just having like this really quiet moment that you can drink your morning coffee in the most mindful way, engaging all your senses again, and making it just almost like a meditation when you're drinking the coffee. Maybe that's just the time that you have for that. And then throughout the day, that's what the meditation practice is about. If you have the meditation practice, it's one way to help you to cultivate awareness or mindfulness. And so the mindfulness, that's where it kind of comes in the daily life. In the, maybe we may be meditating for 5 minutes, 15 minutes, or maybe 30 minutes when we have the luxury of time, or 1 hour a day. And what happens to the rest of the 23 hours, right? Or like 30 minutes. And so that's where we have to bring the practice of meditation, that bring that mindfulness, that consciousness, like I'm conscious what I'm doing, into our daily life. And that makes it so practical too.
Yeah.
Because maybe during meditation, maybe something was arising. I observe, I have this feeling coming on, I observe. And so throughout the day, it's kind of like, okay, well, how am I going to honor that? Maybe a lot of times it's emotions, because when we're so busy, we're like, I can't, I don't have time to feel grief. I don't have time to feel, anger is fine. I feel like we have time for anger, but not so much time for grief. And so it's like, I don't have time to feel grief. I don't have time to, to feel all these things. I have to get on with my day. I have to get stuff done. So, which is true. I know we all have that. We need to do that. So like you said, throughout the day, it's just, first of all, if it's really having a tough day, it's just really getting that one thing at a time. Like, set your time container. I learned it from my friends. Maybe don't think about it as a 24-hour day, but just think of it as like for the next hour, just now or whatever the next appointment is. This is what I need to do, and just focus on that.
Yeah.
So not too much thinking about the next one, which can be very overwhelming. And try to incorporate mindfulness whichever way you can. Maybe, of course, breathing. It's always such a great thing because it's free. You can do it anytime.
Breathing is free.
Breathing is free. And then just taking a few deep breaths in. But I feel like, a lot of time we don't really remember that unless you have like some kind of app reminder or something. So maybe use other things as a touch point. Maybe it is getting up to get, a cup of water, a glass of water. Use that time, or going for a toilet break.
Yeah.
Use that time to kind of like just, recenter yourself, whichever that means for you. Maybe it's just imagining, you can use imagination, imagining yourself a tree, you have roots growing down. So you're like grounding yourself. Maybe when you're washing your hands, you just imagine the water's helping you to wash away, all that energies that don't belong to you. So there's like small little things you can definitely do throughout the day, taking little breaks.
Yeah.
And then using that. Again, it's engaging your senses, but different ways.
Yeah.
Or you can also think about the elements if you like to think about it that way. Whichever is, like, can be the water element or the fire element. Maybe it's lighting a candle before you start a session with somebody.
Love it.
It really depends on each person.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's lots of good stuff in there that you just said. So I want to really highlight this for a minute, because I feel like this is so critically important. When I used to run a group counseling practice, and I had 10 or 12 providers at any given time, and everybody has very different styles. Like, I know therapists, and I've talked to therapists, but lots of people who do all kinds of different work. Therapists is just what I know the most about. But I know therapists who can only tolerate seeing maybe 4 people a day, 5 people a day, and need a half hour break in between, and really need to spread it all out. But I know a lot of others who will see 10 people in a day back to back and not take a lunch break, like just all day
Mm.
long, boom, 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 boom. And there's an interesting paradox here that you just made me think about. When I have been one of the, I have always taken a lunch break. I always tell people, like, if you don't do anything else, take a real lunch break and get up and leave your desk and go outside for a minute. Just walk
Yes.
outside, even if you just go sit in your
Mm.
car for a minute, if you're in a urban area, whatever, get outside and get some fresh air for a moment, at least once during your day, if nothing else. Like that's a bare minimum survival level to me. But
Mm.
there's a thing when you have back to back clients all day, that in itself, when I am with somebody in a session, I am 100% there. Like I'm not thinking
Yes.
about anything else but them. Like
Mm.
it is focus. And it has been kind of fascinating to me during hard times. Like I went through a divorce many years ago. When things are tough in your family, your life's falling apart, it feels like. But by golly,
Mm.
when I'm with a client, I'm with a client. And the rest
Yes.
of the world just doesn't exist during that time. That in itself is a type of being present. That's true.
Yes.
However, when you do that all day long and you go straight from one to the next, 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 at the end of the day, you have completely depleted all of your resources. And
Mm.
I would say that the clients at the end of the day are not getting as much of you, or the better parts of you, as the clients at the beginning of the day. And I
Right.
think your point about find little ways to recharge, reconnect all day long in between people. I love what you said about even when you're washing your hands, to imagine that the water is washing away the stress or the negative energy or
Yes.
the worry, whatever. I have found it helpful to just close the door for a minute and just stand in the middle of the office or sit on my couch or my chair for a minute and close my eyes and put my hand on my heart and my feet on the
Mm.
floor and just take 3 deep breaths, just 3 deep breaths. And I will sometimes imagine like that help around me is seen and unseen, to come into the room and just help me in this moment. Just be with me this moment.
Yes.
Be present with me in this moment.
Mm. Yes. That's beautiful. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't do the kind of work that we do. You cannot feed the people that you are serving if you are not feeding yourself all day
Hmm.
long. And you said also find the time that works for you in the morning. If you can't do it at home because you got a crazy house at home, and I know it, I used to have that. I don't anymore, but I did. Then do it when you get to work. Get to work 15 minutes before your first client or 30 minutes before, and give yourself a few minutes in your office with the door closed to get centered and set your intentions for the day. Set
Yes.
your intentions and call in the help. Call in whatever help you need to be fully
Yes.
present. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
I'm with you.
I do. I do actually all the things that you said. So like totally agree with what you said. Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Do you have a particular ritual that's a good way to end the day? Not in the day at home at night when you're going to bed, but
Hmm.
in your
Hmm.
work day? Is there a way to leave work at work when you go home?
Um, it's kind of hard now because I mean, not kind of hard. I work at home, but I have my home office.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
And
so washing
energy.
my hands as a way to kind of clear away just the energy of that session or just the end of the day. What even when I'm taking a shower, just having
Mm,
that intention of that water is just washing away,
mm,
kind of like finishing. If that day I feel particularly ungrounded, if I do feel ungrounded, I actually will eat dark chocolate. That's one way to
really?
help myself to ground myself. Yeah, so dark chocolates is actually one of the food that can help you ground you, or just grounding food, like you know, whatever food that you
Mm,
feel really grounded, like really nourishing for you.
mm,
Like you
mm,
said, that feeds your soul. Like that's
yeah.
like that kind of food, and just kind of having that to really to ground yourself again.
Oh, that's lovely. I love that. Yeah. I want to say one more part about this. I've got a couple more things I want to get to. Um, I think a theme in the middle of all this that's coming to me is the importance of being present and intentional. That
Hmm.
you're not just mindlessly going through the motions all day and checking off your to-dos and getting through your appointments. That you are being intentional about the intention you set for the day, the intention that you wrap up with at the end of the day. Um,
Mm.
Being aware that you are absorbing energy all day. I love that idea of washing that off. That you absorb. We are intuitive people. We take in other people's energy all day long. you have to find a way to release that, right? Shake that off,
Hmm.
send it back into the earth, release it to the heavens, whatever you need to do.
Yes,
Um,
yes, you're right. Yeah, definitely.
hadn't heard the dark chocolate part before. That makes me think I should keep that in my face. I love that. Oh, so one last thing about this before I start to pull this together. Let's go back to the concept of sacred,
Yes.
because a lot of what we're talking about is about being still, being quiet, being reconnecting with our own soul, our own heart, just
Yes.
sort of taking a breather in the middle of the day, being aware of energy,
Hmm.
which is
Hmm.
extremely important. But I want to talk about sacred. Um,
Mm.
what does sacred mean to you?
Mm.
And when you say to honor whatever is sacred to you, is just where we started.
Yeah. Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, sacred to me, it is reconnecting to the universe, like that the bigger presence all around us, whatever that term that each person wants to use it. So I just call it the universe. And what I was saying is, we're not alone here. We have all these help and support, and the universe does work in mysterious ways that our mind sometimes just cannot grasp. And it is okay to let go of the control.
Yeah. But you were saying we are not all alone here. We have help around us.
Yes.
So you were sharing a little bit more about that. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's having this time to remember, like you said, we have all this help and all this support. That is, we're not here alone.
Yeah.
And so when we remember that, it helps the mind to let go of the control,
Mm.
like trying to control everything.
Yeah. We can let go of control. We don't have to have it all figured out. We can just, we can turn loose and know that things are going to be okay. That is absolutely true. I love that. I love that. I will say that in my own experience, one of the things, well, there's a saying that there will always be prayer in schools as long as there are tests, that kind of thing, right? I think about that as a therapist. There were so many times, especially early in my career, when I would be dealing with a really complicated family and there was a lot of tension in the room and there was some really hard stuff to deal with. And I would be like, I have no idea what to do here. And in my mind, I would be like, help me out, guys. Whoever's around, help me out. Help me help these people
Mm,
right now because I don't know what I'm doing here. Um, I do feel like I constantly lean on support that is around me. I often think
mm,
uh, there's kind of a running joke among my friends. I have great parking angels. They're just awesome. They help me all the
mm,
time. I get the best parking
yes.
places all the time. And I'm always like, thanks,
Mm,
parking angels. You guys are great. And lately I've been thinking maybe I have traffic angels as well. I don't know, because I've had some pretty good things there. But, I joke about that, but I'm not always joking about that. Like I really do believe that we have all kinds of help. And whatever that looks like for you, how you tune into that is really important. All right, Tanya, I think what I want to do next, what I would love to hear from you is like, tell us a little bit about the retreat that you've got coming up in November of this year. I would love to hear from you about that.
yes.
All right.
Yeah, so we have a special retreat. So sometimes we organize special retreats, and it's called Sacred Rest with Nature Solo
Mm.
Retreat. It's facilitated by my friend Yumin Yap from Singapore and myself, and it's from November 29th to December 4th. So it's 6 day, 5 night program
Oh.
where we're really just going to practice sacred rest.
Mm.
And we talk about the four elements, like earth, fire, air, and water, but it really is just all these different practices like yoga nidra, forest bathing. We can like cacao ceremony, shamanic journey. So kind of like
Uh,
there are 7 types of rest. So we're going to have all these modalities to help us to rest physically, emotionally, mentally,
mm.
with the senses, resting with the senses, resting creatively as well,
Wow.
and as a way to really intentionally to start to wrap up the year, and then to have this kind of refresh clarity going into the new year. So
Oh,
that's what
that
we're
sounds
doing at
awesome.
the end of November, beginning December. Yes.
How perfect before the craziness happens at the end of the year. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
There are 7 types of rest.
Yes. yes, there is. So there's actually a book on it, and it's called, I can't, sorry, I don't have the name of the book now. I'll send it to you, but
Yeah.
there it's talking about 7 types of rest. Yes. So it's physical, emotional, mental, creative, sensory, spiritual, and there's one more, social rest.
Oh, wow. That's a
Yeah.
concept I haven't heard before. Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you love it. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
we think rest is like just physical. Like if I sleep, but how come I sleep so much? I don't feel the energy because
Hmm.
maybe we need emotional rest. Maybe we need social rest. Social rest, there's two ways too. Maybe I need to have more like, socially like involved with like get out with to go hang out with my friends, or maybe it's the opposite, solitude time. Maybe I
Yeah.
just have the time to creative rest. Creative rest is just like kind of doing something creative, like you mentioned with the mandala before.
Yeah. 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 There's that sort of bone weariness that I know I think moms have a lot actually. And I think can have, I mean, because you are being pulled on all the time. Your energy is just leaking all the time in various ways.
Mm,
And then I do think that for people who own a business, if it's a thriving practice and you've got a lot of clients, especially if you don't have great boundaries or you don't have some of your systems in place, you can reach a point to where you are bone weary and where
hmm.
all the sleep in the world doesn't seem like enough. So that
Yeah,
sounds lovely. 6 days in Thailand, guys. Wowie.
thank you.
I love the sound of that. I have to think about thinking, what does the airfare cost to Thailand? I'll have to look into that. That's really, really sounds. So how do people find out about that? Where can they learn about you? Where can they connect? I know you have other programs and courses that you offer. What's the best way for people to learn about you and about the retreat?
Yeah, so the best way is to visit our website. So it's museflowerretreat.com
Muse,
with just one
Muse
R.
Flower, Muse Flower,
Yes,
Muse.
Museflower. Yes, that's right. Muse, and then flower retreat, but that's only one R.com. Or you can Google us, and then I'm sure the website will pop out. And we have our programs, including the Sacred Rest with Nature Retreat program. The information will be on the website as well.
Lovely. And y'all will link that in the show notes for sure. So you can find that really easily. That's so great. That really sounds lovely. Tanya, this has been fun. It's like it's made me think
Thank
about
you.
a lot of things I haven't thought about in a long time. So thank you so much for being with us today. It's just been awesome. In spite of our internet troubles, by golly. ah, that's so funny how that's. So one thing I love to what I would like to do as I bring this to a close is I like to ask folks, is there anything that I have forgotten to ask you or I have that you feel called to share? Anything at all that would make
Mm-hmm.
this conversation complete?
Mm. I feel like, when we talk about like that, finding all these moments throughout the day when it's really tough and when it's really tiring, a lot of clients. And we talk about intention, like intention of opening day, intention of closing the day. I feel like there's also kind of one more intention to look back is to really listen to your intuition. And I feel like we talk about the sacred practices, for example, meditation, journaling, and these are all ways, practices that can help us to listen more to our intuition.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, and I want to point out that we are cyclical beings too. We go through different cycles, on a physical level, but just also, I feel like on the work level, sometimes we are in this time, we just feel like we're in this winter time. There's so many things going on in our life, and it is okay to rest,
Mm,
because rest is also productive. And so there's always to feel like, or we talk about, oh, we might didn't have this time to feel the sadness or feel this grief, and because there's so many things to do,
yeah.
and maybe it is okay to take that time to really listen to your body, listen to intuition, say, okay, I really need to take the day off just to really, to be with myself, to be
Mm,
with my grief, to release it, like you said, so then we can be a better therapist, a better coach to our clients, like you said.
yeah. Yeah.
And we are, everybody is the biggest asset of your own business. So
Yes.
you are the biggest asset of your own business. So to be able to really have time to invest in yourself, whether maybe it's spiritual practices, or maybe it's just time to rest for yourself, maybe going on a retreat for yourself, or just taking the time to listen to a podcast, Wendy's podcast, right? Just for yourself to have that time, right? Instead of always just doing mode, or just like, I have to produce something, I have to be productive, I have to be like meeting clients. And so tying back to meditation and the sacred practices, they are one way to help us to really to learn to listen and pay attention to what your body is trying to tell you. Like we talk about observing the inner world, what your emotions are trying to show you.
That's so true. It's so true. And you are not going to do that if you are running 100 miles an hour all day long, every day. You're just not, You're going to miss the signals. You're going to miss the signals, and your body is going to talk to you, and you're going to miss it, and you're going to get sick. So like there are so many reasons to do this. You're absolutely right. And your intuition, I love you are the greatest asset in your business. That is absolutely true. If you are not taking care of the CEO, your business is in trouble.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, your business is in trouble. Yeah. And you have to be quiet. And I was thinking about the extroverts in our audience. Like they're out there. They're not as many. Most of them are not, but they are there. And for people who are extrovert, who are on the extrovert end of that spectrum, who rest for them is being around other people. This whole thing about being quiet or going internally, that is harder for them. And yet it is just as important, because you've got to find time to listen. And your whole point about, if you don't use these kinds of practices, your intuition will suffer, and you will miss things. You will miss things. So that's good. That's a great way.
It may be harder to listen to your intuition. Like you said, if we're going 100 miles per hour, and sometimes I feel like there will be periods that we feel like we are going the 100 miles per hour, and that's great. Maybe things are manifesting so quickly, and you know, I'm doing all these things I really want to, which is great. Like it's like that summer season, right? Like really enjoy. And then there will be the time that's like, okay, it's like the cycle is like, now it's the resting time, the autumn, the fall time, the winter time. And so just really honoring ourselves in different phases, because society tends to honor like the blossoming, the summer. And then now we also have to learn to honor that fall and that winter time as well.
So true. So true. 100%. Thank you, Tania. This is great. I'm going to make sure people find your website, and I hope that maybe we can send a few people your way in November. That would be lovely. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And thank you for your sense of humor and for your patience as we've had a few internet glitches. We got through it.
Thank you for your patience. And I hope you have a chance, to come visit Thailand, and maybe have a chance to come visit us as well in the future. So thank you so much again for having me. Yeah.
I would love that. Thank you, my friend. All right, you all. Listen to what she had to say. Go back and listen to this again. There were lots and lots and lots of tidbits, little bits all throughout this whole conversation today that you can use literally today. Like as you're listening to this podcast, turn it off and do one of these things today, and you will find that you feel better at the end of the day. You will find that you serve your clients at a higher level. You will find that your practice will thrive, and you will last, because you are taking care of the greatest asset in your practice. So do that. All right, everybody. Have a great week. That's what I got for you today. And we will see you again next time right here on Ideal Practice. Bye now. Hey, y'all. If this program has become important to you, if Ideal Practice matters, it would mean so much to me if you'd be willing to take just a minute to do one or two of the following things. First of all, would you follow or subscribe to the show here at Ideal Practice? Following me helps you because you'll never miss an episode, but it helps me as well for all kinds of reasons. To do that, all you have to do is go to the show page for Ideal Practice on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. There, just click on the plus sign that you'll usually find in the top right-hand corner, or click on the word follow that you're going to find somewhere there on that page. Of all the things, this really is the most important thing you can do for the podcast itself. While you're there, it would be extra special if you would be willing to give me a 5-star rating, and even better than that, a review with your own words. Your words matter. And when you write what you feel, what you think, you uplift and encourage others. And I love that. If you want to go a step further than that, take your favorite episode or two, one of the ones that has meant a lot to you, and share it with a friend. Could you do one or two of those things for me? I promise I will love you forever. You guys matter to me, and I value your support more than I can possibly say. Thank you, sweet friend, for anything you can do to help me out and support the show. I'll see you again soon.